Can I just interrupt and say something funny? My friend just texted me about your podcast, and she said she's been away in like Prague working, and she just started listening, and she said, "I'm in love with your presence on the podcast. You got lost in England in Chester. You mad woman! It's not hard to get lost in England. What's your problem?" So that's embarrassing, yeah. But it's quite sweet that she likes your podcast. Sorry, go on.
Amazing. What's her name?
Hannah. So
Hi, Hannah. Hi.
Go on now.
Hello.
Hannah's got a shout out.
Yeah, Hannah got a shout out.
Rage Whale.
Thanks for returning to our deep dive episode. This is our second installment, and we have chosen the mighty director Christopher Nolan. This subject was chosen by our regular guest Kate, who also joins us. We discuss his personal life, his influences, and what he's got coming up next. Enjoy.
Welcome to our second ever deep dive episode. Our first one is on Colin Farrell, so go back and have a little listen to that if you like a bit of Colin Farrell. And this deep dive has been suggested by our regular guest Kate. She's joined us again, and she has chosen Christopher Nolan. Before I give some breakdowns and a bit of background, was there a particular reason you wanted to go for Christopher Nolan, Kate?
Because some of my favourite, I love personally a film that has like so many different meanings and so many different interpretations. And his movies have like, they stay with you. They're like a feeling. They're like a sensation. They're very like almost like a dream. And I think they have like kind of like an impact on your, I don't know, your subconscious or your psyche. Like you can feel his movies afterwards, and it's just how they are for me. And the way he uses, like, I was just thinking of like the scene in Oppenheimer where this the really horrible scene, you know what I'm talking about. They're a lot like something from a dream, and I think that's why they really appeal to me, and they always have an impact on me. And I watched Interstellar the other day again, and I just thought, wow, like he is so clever, and I love his Batman films, and yeah, a lot of his films have made a big impression on me, and I love a film that has so much different meanings and texture, and yeah,
that's it. All the films are deep, aren't they? You can't watch a Christopher Nolan film and go, "Yep, that was over. Now I move on with my life."
It kind of be interesting to talk about. So yeah,
haunts you a bit. I assume the Oppenheimer scene you mean is the stamping in their seats, and that's
stepping in a baby.
When I saw that, what? No, stamping their feet.
The child he steps in the child. There's now Ash.
Oh, I don't remember that bit. But I just remember I saw it in the IMAX twice, and the sound of that alone was immense. And he's one of the only rare directors that are fixated on IMAX cameras, which, if you've seen I don't know if you've seen behind the scenes of them being used, they're noisy. They go.
Oh yeah. And heavy as well, because when they made Dunkirk, they had to put one on a plane, and von Hoffmann, I can't remember the name of the cinematographer, I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but he was saying, how the heck are we going to get an IMAX camera onto the wing of this plane? And it was like, yeah, I think they had to recreate a whole plane that could actually fit an IMAX camera on it for the weight balance.
Can we not just take a moment to respect we have a famous actress in our midst? We have Kate, aka the famous Elizabeth Holmes.
Oh yes, but she doesn't have Le Bébé. She's not the film critique.
You need to tap your screen, James. Oh, there we go.
See her face.
Yeah. What program's that from again? It's from.
No, she was a famous con artist.
Yeah,
she was the richest woman in the world, but
not
the con
sick.
artist.
Something else.
Dope thief, but no.
Yeah, she said she had like some crazy like blood thing, and it was all a big fraud.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yes. I love a story about a con artist. Sorry,
So,
back to
Kate, you're looking like one right now.
I know, thank you.
So, for the audio listeners, Kate is wearing a beret. So, if she turns French at any point during this podcast, it's because a beret has landed on her noggin.
Can I just say sorry to Emmanuel if he's listening?
He's a fan of yours, as you're a fan of his. So it's all good. I hope Emmanuel's still listening. That'd be great.
He's not mentioned enough. Just giving you that feedback, guys.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
We'll get Emmanuel Bonamy on again, I'm sure. Right. So, yeah, let's dig in to our deep dive on Christopher Nolan. Just a few headlines before we get into it. Just so you all know, I'm sure you're all aware, but he's 55. Here's the boring stats bit. He is British/American. He's got dual citizenship. I think he was born in 1970 in Westminster, and he was raised in Highgate, and I used to live around the corner from Highgate. And then he moved as I think a teenager. He moved to Chicago, which is why he's got dual citizenship.
He's 54.
It's 55. Or
No.
maybe it's 55 later this year.
The power of maths.
Alrighty. He has also grossed over £6.6 billion worldwide with his films, which is insane. He is the 7th highest grossing director of all time. And number one is Steven Spielberg, who's done 50 times the amount of films.
Yeah,
so
looking at his body of work, it's not huge, is it? It's not a huge body of work.
He's made such epic films.
But there's not that many. Like when you compare to say Spielberg going back to E.T. all the way onwards, he's got maybe looking through them like
Spielberg's been going since
bangers.
before. Yeah, but Spielberg's been going since before he was born.
Yeah, but it's nuts. The thing, Christopher Nolan, everyone knows him, but when you look at his body of work, you're like, yeah, they're all amazing. But maybe he's kind of like one of them, like, when actors only go for amazing roles. It's like their body of work's pretty small. Like we were talking about Colin Farrell's body of work is pretty small, but he's genuinely very good.
But also, how long has he been going for? Like, has Steven Spielberg been making films for longer, even though Christopher Nolan...
Well, Steven Spielberg's probably like 70-something, isn't he? So he's got 20 years on him.
Yeah.
Or something.
I mean, Christopher Nolan has been doing movies properly since 1998.
His sisters have been doing music since, like, I think the 70s.
Sorry to interrupt the show. Just a reminder to say we love and appreciate you all for listening to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, follow, as this really helps us continue to progress and improve the content and keeps us making these fun episodes for you guys. Oh, we're also on these things called Instagram and TikTok. You can follow us there too, as we share short, funny reels on the reg that you can share with friends if you like. Now, back to the mayhem.
Well, people always say that he's the master of spectacle, right? That's the thing with Christopher Nolan. You know that you're gonna have, as Kate said, it's an experience. It's not just turning up to a film, but also he's one of those rare directors that trusts the audience. He never kind of baby feeds you. It's as complex as it needs to be, but you need to pay attention. Because he said once in an interview, he said that it frustrates me where most people could leave the cinema, come back, and just carry on as though nothing had happened. He says, I want to create films where it's hard to leave. And it's like, fair enough. You don't want to go to the toilet in a Christopher Nolan film, because when you come back, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on? You need like an A to Z to just catch yourself back up.
I always feel like what I love about his films is there's so many complexity in each layer that you could analyze and find multiple meanings and multiple scenarios in every single layer, but they're like kind of a deep texture of different layers that build up to one.
Yeah, and also jumping off the back of that, what makes him super smart from a kind of financial point of view, because there's so much ambiguity and return on investment on watching his films, you have to go back to watch them a multitude of times. So you end up spending more money on tickets to buy the films because you want to rewatch them
and understand what you didn't get.
That's true. And that's because there is so many meanings in them, and so much, and like you said about trusting the audience, he trusts it, but then he trusts that also that you might not always, like, obviously all our minds and our perception is a product of our society, upbringing, blah blah. So we might all see it differently, and he's okay with that, I think.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, yeah.
Also, you might argue this, but obviously he's such an amazing director and did things beforehand. But do we all agree that the thing that made him not a household name, but a movie fan household name was the intro to the Batman series?
Yeah, definitely. The Batman thing put
Batman
him on the
series.
map.
That's what made him blow up, wasn't it? That was his
that was the
boom
global
moment. Because
that was the
Memento, I
global
think, was
sure.
before, but it's not a household movie. Whereas when Batman come in, everyone will say they're the best Batman films of all time.
Yeah,
that was his launch pad, wasn't it? Really.
But he also had a very clever stamp which is interesting because he's a huge fan of Tarantino, who was one of the first people to use.
I think that's really clear in his work.
Yeah, I was about to say, to use time narrative jumps. And then the funny thing is, more people are thinking that Nolan is now famous for time structured narrative, but actually Tarantino was one of the first ones to invent that, from like Reservoir Dogs to Pulp Fiction. But yeah,
Which is funny because Tarantino is known for not doing sequels and playing with time generally.
Yeah.
In his movies, apart from Kill Bill, what other sequels has he done?
Yeah.
But then again, Nolan hasn't done it, even though he's got themes. I mean, the main things that he does that his films are unique for, that he's very well known for, is, like you said, films regarding time, films regarding metaphysics,
Or Inception,
which is the philosophy of the structure
Motion.
of reality.
Mm.
So confusing the audience, how things are going. Extensionalism, which is the struggle to live an authentic life because reality is so absurd.
Whoa, that should be on a T-shirt, man. That's deep.
It's a straight, and it also focuses on ethics and memory. Those are his main headlines of films that he's got to have
And when
something
I was
seen
just
through.
like an Interstellar analysis on the internet, and it said, sorry if this sounds very cheesy, but it said about like the key themes in Interstellar, and it said about the power of love, and it said Anne Hathaway delivers a key monologue about love transcending space and time. She argues that love is a force that exists beyond dimensions like gravity. It's kind of beautiful.
And it's kind of
And love is not just an emotional but a tangible force that can influence reality, much like gravity, which I love in the film about the bit with the bookshelf and how he tries to reach his daughter, and it's just wow.
You were my ghost, Dad. You were my ghost.
All those beautiful words, and all I heard was, "It's the power of love."
Power of love.
It is the power of love.
Sorry, Drew. You were going to say something off that?
But yeah. I mean, he's another thing that I've noticed though with his films is the protagonist is always in battle with themselves. So, because we can go into spoilers, right? So, for example, the Prestige, the two characters, Christian Bale's character is a duplicate where he's in competition with the other version of himself and kind of sharing a life and the struggles of that kind of conflict. The same with Hugh Jackman's character when he's making multiple versions of himself, and then he never knows if he's going to be the one in the box or if he's going to be the one on the top. Then you've got in Tenet, which is a big spoiler. He is fighting himself literally in the airport because as the loop goes round through time, their timelines go against each other. So he ends up fighting himself. Then in Interstellar, he's trying to warn his future self, or his past self is trying to warn the future version. So that's kind of got a loop element to it as well. So the characters are always in fighting with themselves, and even Memento to a degree, because the character's got short-term memory. So he is the protagonist and the antagonist, because he's not doing himself. He's doing himself a disservice because it's an unreliable narrator, and he has got fragments of time. So he doesn't trust
I seem to remember.
he doesn't trust his own opinion.
See, all that is like makes sense because we're on the framework of Christopher Nolan, but that is a confusing few sentences you just said. If like
really?
people haven't seen the film, I mean, like, yeah, it's
He
no,
drugs.
in a good way.
He drugs when you're talking.
Perfect sense.
He
Yeah.
drugs when you're talking Nolan. That should be.
And he uses time so much in his films, like plays with the concept of time, like memory and.
Like Tenet is so confusing. So many people didn't get that, and I'm pretty sure didn't Leonardo DiCaprio say that when he did Inception, he didn't know what the film was about, didn't understand it, and still doesn't to this day.
Yeah. Well, no, he said he kind of added some elements to it, but he said he liked the idea that he's almost like an addict, essentially, like he's addicted to dreams because his reality is so warped because he's lost his wife, he doesn't have his children. So yeah, it's this idea that, and then when you see him going around and they're going to all these different places where in this world people go into these dream states, so they just like plug themselves in.
In a side note, did you see it was today, bizarrely, that I saw on social media, but I've seen it before, and the initials of all the people in Inception is Dreams, and something else that means Dreams Pay.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you all. Not really about Christopher Nolan, but do you think Inception is possible? Do you think you can go in someone else's dream?
Yeah.
Because I've had it before. Like, in fact, it happened to me the other night. I was dreaming about a friend, and I don't really want to say what it was because it was a really horrible dream, actually. Not a nice dream, what happened to that friend. But part of the dream, I went on a trip on a train, and then I texted that friend at 4 a.m. because I was really worried that they weren't alive because I dreamt they died in my dream. In my dream, I dreamt they were ghosts and they came to me. And then that friend texted me and they were like, "Oh yeah, I dreamt we were on a train going somewhere. I dreamt of you too." And I was like, "That's a really weird coincidence." But I don't know. Sorry, go on.
That's mad.
Yeah.
That goes into like, there's so many weird films like that. And
have you ever experienced lucid dreams?
Yeah, loads of times.
Yeah.
Where you were in a dream, wake up, be conscious of it, get a drink, go to the toilet, go back to sleep. You're in exactly the same space again. And remember every part of it vividly.
I've had someone go into my dream, which is really weird when I was in a relationship before. I wake up, they tell me about my dream, which I can't explain. There must be a logical thing. And I didn't tell them anything about my dream. They're like, "Oh, you were dreaming that? You're having a nightmare." And I'm like, "What? How do you know?"
Well, you said stuff out loud, though.
Maybe, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
They're behind you. Put down the gun.
So do you think, like, scientifically...
That's the way to do it.
Do you think you can put yourself, like, do you think it's like, I don't know, psychological warfare? Could you put your thoughts in someone else's dreams?
If Elon Musk has anything to do with anything, it's going to happen at some point.
Neuralink.
Don't forget, that's what the BFG did, but obviously not. He was putting sweet dreams in, but there was the darker versions that were like
the old whiz bang wallop
into the
But do you think it's like actually happening or possible?
Yeah. Why not?
I think there is subconscious. I think there's subconscious programming because depending on what you watch late at night, it does influence your dreams. I think so.
It might be even random. Like you were like, I don't know, watching a documentary on elephants, and then you're organising your fridge, and suddenly you dream that there's an elephant in your fridge, and like it's just your brain.
Or a fridge in your elephant.
Exactly, but like it doesn't always have to mean something.
Makes it really hard to get a Coke.
So I wonder, like, could you suggest thoughts into someone's brain before they dream, and then force their dreams?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, just jump. Actually, no, because we're going to do a whole episode on that. So
as well, like you mentioned in the last episode, like technology, and that we're in the generation we're in, and like AI and stuff like that. We didn't know about that as kids. True, we didn't, but Terminator came out in '83, and that's about AI. So it's been there.
Pretty much where we're going.
We didn't really know what it was about.
Because you said with same with Matrix, man. In 2002, was it? Or when we said about
here's the argument. Then here's the argument.
Yeah.
Did those movies come out and those people create that idea that then humans built on, or did that tech already exist? They put it in film sense because people think, sci-fi, whatever, and continued to build on it.
It's a bit from column A, bit from column B.
I don't know,
Yeah.
because there's the famous thing that
Like,
art
is it
creates
logical that
science.
someone sees something moving and goes, I want to build that? Or is it logical that someone that's got some tech slips it out into movies and goes, go?
I reckon in movies, like they're playing out all the possibilities of like nightmare scenarios and good scenarios, and just like
Well, do you know what the mental thing is? The one thing the movies, they did flying cars, they did all this stuff. The one thing they never predicted was the internet. They all predicted these robots, flying cars, all this stuff. Never predicted the internet. And like phones where you can just do all this stuff on.
But I don't think the internet would be fascinating. Like, it'd be quite a boring thing in a film.
Well,
But
no,
like,
it wouldn't have been like they
Google.
thought of it, but wouldn't have been fascinating. It's just the fact it didn't exist. They wouldn't have just thought of it, would they?
Well, I think we've deviated quite a bit from that.
I think Christopher Nolan. I'm gonna put my light back on. I thought I would.
Let's go on to the Batman series.
Well,
let's go to Batman.
Before we go into the films, it's just a bit more about the man. The good thing about this, like when we did the Colin Farrell one, we spoke about Colin Farrell for ages before we did the film because he's so interesting. The interesting thing about Christopher Nolan is that there's nothing interesting about Christopher Nolan.
Well, I heard he kicks cats.
And
I've got crazy.
He deliberately shies away. So he's married to Emma Thomas. These are the few things we know about him as a human.
Emma Thomas, in like the it's Emma Thompson, sorry.
Different human. Emma Thomas, and they met at UCL, University College London, and she produces and has produced all these films since 1997. They have 4 children, and they live in LA. The only other thing we know about him is that he doesn't own a smartphone or email.
That's
which
bullshit.
Is why,
absolute bullshit.
No, he doesn't. His wife, his producer, does email stuff if they need to do that. But that's why he hand delivers scripts to people.
Yeah. Or gets them to come to his house.
Talking about technology, then he's totally free compared to all of us. Then,
yeah, and he's very mysterious because he doesn't discuss his personal life. He said it detracts from his craft. He wants people to talk about the films, not him. Which
I admire that. I think that's brilliant. He's become an enigma.
Yeah, and I think that's impressive because the only main things we know about him really, and he's mentioned it quite a few times, that his main influence has been Ridley Scott and sci-fi movies like 2001: Space Odyssey.
I get that, but the fact he doesn't have an email address is bollocks.
He doesn't have an email.
Yes, he does. That's such bullshit. There's such bullshit. He doesn't have a smartphone.
Your wife is a producer. You don't need an email.
No, his wife's his personal assistant and a staff member, if that's the case. Because to open a bank account, like all your stuff now, or to book flights, you have to have email confirmation.
He doesn't. He doesn't have maybe he doesn't have a personal email. He has one that he has to use, but he doesn't use it for work.
If that's the case, his wife's an employee.
Well, yeah, they probably own a company together or something.
But that's such nonsense. So he's never bought anything online.
Don't see why not.
They do own a company.
Doesn't need to. He's mega rich. He'll just say, "Get us that." Someone will get it for him.
Legend.
You could like buy something, couldn't you? If you want to just buy something.
If you've seen him on set, he carries around that little Nokia screen, doesn't he?
Yeah.
As opposed to like the Video Village big iPad thing. He's got like a Casio thing from the 90s. Little TV thing.
That's
his total. Actually do that, really.
Let's not deviate on that, James. It's what I've read. We're taking it as read.
Yeah,
let's move on. There's probably, like you said, you're probably correct. There's probably a get out clause. But if his wife does everything, then
in Devil's Advocate to what I just said, if I was him and had all that money, I would try my best to go low tech. But eventually, you'd have to send an email or something, wouldn't you?
Not if you're that rich.
His poor wife has to do it.
Get a PA to do it. I'm not saying no. His wife produces. She's like an equal. She's not like his assistant.
Not the runner, dude.
He's got probably 20 assistants. He can go.
I bet he's subscribed to OnlyFans.
I was going to say his first film, if you watch Following, is a perfect example of the kind of filmmaker he was going to be. And I believe that did really well at Rain Dance, and I think maybe even BAFTA, was it?
BAFTA nominated? It's his second film, I think, because he did Doodlebug. Then
Doodlebug was a crazy one, man. That's mental. That is mental.
Is Following the one where he's like trying to... Oh no, Doodlebug must be the one where he's trying to kill a bug.
Yeah, but the bug is him.
And then he realizes he is the bug.
Yeah,
or
which
something
again,
mad.
that's his narrative again. The protagonist fighting himself. So, but yeah, in Following, one of the spookiest things that I noticed about it, and I looked it up and I went, "That is crazy for foreshadow." When you watch the film Following, it's black and white. It's kind of like a noir-esque. I believe it was like a friend of his. So the people that are in it aren't really actors. There's hardly any actors.
There's no one in there.
He just tried to get loads of people together to try and make this incredible kind of narrative film where this guy starts following people, then he follows the wrong person, and then he gets into a lot of trouble. But it's a lot more interesting than that. But one of the craziest bits is when he knocks on this particular door in this apartment, there is a Batman symbol on the door, which is so mad for the kind of fortuitous thing of him then doing a Batman franchise.
In Following, his uncle plays a policeman, and his wife's in it as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, so the first main film, though, if we go into it before we say Batman, is Memento.
Insomnia.
Is everyone? James
No, it's
hasn't seen it.
Insomnia first because he had to get.
I know of it.
Insomnia is his first film. It's
I love Memento. It's one of my favourite films.
It's a remake of the Danish film with Al Pacino,
Makes me super emotional.
Robin Williams, and Hilary Swank.
Schwank.
Gonna pop off.
Hilary Swank is the worst, isn't she?
Technically,
dude,
Insomnia.
You always say that.
Well, Memento's 2000, Insomnia's 2002.
Ooh, okay.
He might have made it before, but
Okay, no, fair enough. Hey,
is everyone apart from James? Kate, have you seen Memento? Yeah, is that the one you meant? Is that what you were saying?
Memento?
Is that the one that makes you emotional? Did you say?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of his films do. They just like hit me on so many different levels. I think, like you said, about all the texture and layers, and I think this, like Drew said, this analogy of the protagonist fighting with themselves, I think it hits me hard as well. And
one of them. Sorry, go on.
The way they're like a dream.
Yeah, one of the most heartbreaking parts of Memento is when he pays the girl to put some stuff around the bathroom so it looks like his wife that died or was murdered, and then he says, "I need you to slam the door loud enough so it wakes me up." So it is kind of like a dream. So he wakes up, he's in the same apartment, he sees all those things, so he's trying to claw back the memories, and that bit's really, really heartbreaking.
Weird thing about Memento, it came out 2000 and a year after Matrix, and it's got Carrie-Anne Moss and Joe Pantoliano in it.
Sorry, can I just interrupt and say something funny? My friend just texted me about your podcast, and she said she's been away in like Prague working, and she just started listening, and she said, "I'm in love with your presence on the podcast. You got lost in England in Chester, you mad woman. It's not hard to get lost in England. What's your problem?"
Is she English?
Yeah. So that's embarrassing. Yeah, but it's quite sweet that she likes your podcast. Sorry, go on.
Amazing. What's her name?
Hannah. So
hi, Hannah. Hi.
Go on now.
Hello.
Hannah's got a shout out.
Yeah, Hannah got a shout out.
Yeah. Just was that one of Guy Pearce's earliest films as well? Because he was like EastEnders and stuff. Oh no, he did like LA Confidential.
Can I quickly show you the thing I was talking about? Look. See
what?
the Batman sign?
Oh yeah,
that's
a Batman sign on a still from his first film. All right then, let's get onto the main heavyweights. Batman, which is 2005 to 2012.
He did Batman Begins, right?
Yeah, all three.
He did all three. Oh, they're so fucking incredible. I love those movies. Oh, amazing.
And they call it the Dark Knight trilogy, but
he even brings his time narrative-esque style to the Batman world.
And it makes them so dark and great and lovely, and
But you know, with the clever flashbacks though. So he's in prison, fighting. Then he gives him that flower thing, and then it jump cuts back to him being a kid and breaking his arm. It's like so clever, man. The narrative,
but I think I think we forget as well sometimes, like when we're watching these sort of comic book films, this is well before Marvel, but also all the comic book films were like cheesy and colourful. So this was the first one that was, like Kate said, dark,
It
I love
evil,
the darkness of it.
gritty.
I'm looking at like
was called The
just
Dark Knight. You know?
like analysis of like Christopher Nolan, and it says about these similar themes, and it's so interesting. All of them, this is a structure and puzzle of time, the fragility of memory. This is talking about Memento, not Batman, but it kind of, I think these themes appear in all of them. The role of the character, like who is the character fighting against himself, which also happens in Batman. And then it talks about his cinematic techniques, about how he uses like color, angles, and I think he does really he creates an atmosphere that really feels like a dream when you're in his films, and I think that's why they're so powerful to me. Anyway, I don't know. That's why they speak to me.
And the dialogue. Let's not forget, the script is so well written. Like, there's so many. Like, you can quote so many of his movies normally, just because the dialogue is so good. Obviously, he teamed up with I can't remember the name of the guy that wrote Blade, because he teamed up with him for the Batman.
Bob Kane.
No, he didn't team up with Bob Kane.
He wrote with Bob Kane and David S. Goyer.
No, David S. Goyer is the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Bob Kane was one of the original creators of Batman, so he'd have to add him, otherwise it's plagiarism. He didn't meet up with Bob. Oi, Kane, come on. But maybe that inspired him to get Michael Caine on board. Maybe.
But again, I don't know what your thoughts were when Christian Bale was announced as Batman. I think everyone was a little confused.
I love Christian Bale in films.
I was well excited. I was so excited because that's him coming off American Psycho. And the craziest thing was, the interview part. If you get a chance to watch it, Christian Bale was saying, "I just finished The Machinist," and he says there was nothing of me. I couldn't even do a press up without
and then he bulked up in a crazy time.
And then he said it became Batman instead of Batman because he put on too much bulk. Then he had to try and whittle it down. But you can see the difference, though. He's hench in Batman Begins, and then he's proper slimmed down. He's still got the bulk and the mass, but he just kind of got it into the right shape for The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
And I forgot Cillian Murphy's in there.
He's in all three.
Isn't he the baddie? Isn't he the baddie?
He's in all three. He's the Scarecrow.
Yeah, he's a Scarecrow.
He plays such a good baddie.
Yeah.
And again, Tom Wilkinson plays Carmine Falcone, the Moss Bob guy in the pub. Amazing. And I bumped into Tom Wilkinson twice because he lived in Muswell Hill, where I used to live in North London. So I bumped into him twice. I almost ran him over on the zebra crossing. Oof. And then I saw him again at Christmas. I was going to Marks and Spencer's, and he walked.
So darling, Marks and Spencer's.
It's the only shop in Muswell Hill. It's the only grocery shop. Anyway, I was walking to Marks and Spencer's, and he walked just in front of me, and he did this handshake to the homeless guy outside, who's like a fairly famous homeless guy. He organizes all the people and raises money and stuff. And he did this weird handshake, and I saw him give him a wad of cash, like a wad, like one of those cool handshakes where you give money off. And then he went in the shop and he was chatting to everyone. Just really nice guy.
What a lovely guy. Beautiful human. More of those.
He's sadly no longer with us, man.
Yeah. And obviously he's in Batman, but all I remember him from really, that in my brain every time I see him, is just doing that dance in Full Monty.
Oh yeah, the Full Monty. That was a brilliant movie.
But yeah, no. It
wasn't directed by Nolan though, so.
Okay, let's go. Yeah. Let's do a deep dive on Batman quickly.
But yeah, Batman Begins is overshadowed instantly, though, isn't it? Because The Dark Knight is the only thing that anyone wants to talk about. It's the best of the three for obvious reasons. Mm. And as our mate from our previous episode knows, with Lewis Saunderson, he's obsessed with the Joker and Heath Ledger and stuff like that, and is inspiration for his acting. Yeah. But again, that was a film where everyone doubted him. I don't think anyone thought Heath Ledger was the right person for the job that time.
Well, it was a perfect example of breaking stereotype, because he was just a very kind of romantic, handsome lead, comedies all the way up until that point. Actually, saying that, apart from Candy, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to watch Candy. That is a heartbreaking Australian film with Abby Cornish, Jeffrey Rush, and Heath Ledger, and they play heroin addicts, and it's like, holy shit. But yeah,
I was just reading this, and that they had a really interesting analysis and interesting. It's saying about Raoul Liam Neeson weaponizing fear, using it as a tool for destruction. Batman's transformation is rooted in mastering his own fear and using it as against criminals. That is true, and that's what's interesting about the film. I remember, like, not that we recorded it in the same night. I mean, totally different outfit. It's so different. But like our previous podcast, which wasn't the same night, we briefly touched on fear. What was it we said about fear? I don't know. We had
no, there was 3 different elements to it. It was
I know we said about, like, you're free if you don't fear things, because fear is what holds you back in life, and fear is the thing that personally restricts you. And then in this film, they use it as a theme, as like how fear can be self-destruction, and how if you can weaponize fear against other people or not have fear yourself, you're free. So
no, but that's actually incredible, because you're right. Fear amongst many people becomes toxic and dangerous, but fear embodied in one person can actually help you grow and overcome and actually become stronger.
As long as the fear isn't self-destructive.
Yeah. But then someone was saying about, and again, this works perfectly with Batman or like any kind of superhero films, it's like the heroes only fully take on the superhero element when they meet the antagonist. So when there's the villain, that's when the hero has to step up to save the city, which I guess is kind of a bit like a cowboy western thing, where the lone person comes, saves the town from the corrupt bounty hunters.
Well, that's it. None of the storylines are that complex. But in Christopher Nolan's hands, he makes it more intricate and a bit more detailed. It's not just bad guy kill bad guy. It's a cat and mouse chase sort of scenario.
Going off the when you said about The Dark Knight is one of the most famous ones out of the trilogy, the other reason for that is the incredible way that they designed the story for a triangle, where you see an arc of a character that we know and love, which is Harvey Dent, as he turns into Two-Face, based on another part of the triangle, which is the Joker. But how the Joker, Batman, and Harvey Dent are all connected in this movie, and how every choice affects all 3 of them. It's mind-blowing how they managed to piece that together. Like, it's like a guitar, you pluck one string and it kind of has a ripple effect onto the others, and it's absolutely mind-blowing.
Did you guys want to see another film from him? I think the trilogy is perfect. We kind of didn't want to see more, but I think I'd still rather see his universe than what's happening these days. Do you know what I mean?
With Matt Reeves, I'm excited about the Matt Reeves.
No, not that. No, I'm on about Ben Affleck and stuff like that. Before Robert Pattinson.
I think that Nolan saved. I think Nolan saved DC because he saved it from Zack Snyder, which ironically Zack Snyder has now brought it back, because I was not really. Superman was okay, like blah blah blah, but I really enjoyed Justice League when Nolan took over, and it was a brilliant film.
Oh, you mean Man of Steel?
Brilliantly cast. It had that bit of humor, which is why they brought him in. But on the flip side, now seeing the Schneider cut, because obviously we all know why Zack Schneider was cut from it, don't we? Because his daughter committed, whatever. She unalived herself, should we say.
Yeah.
His story is also really, really good. So it's like kind of like DC have always been the darker version of Marvel. Like Marvel have been like the comical side with a bit of serious, whereas DC traditionally in the last 20 years have been darker side, little bit of comedy. Like when Aquaman sits on the lasso of truth, Gal Gadot, who we all know can't act.
Because he's a producer on Man of Steel, and he's a executive producer on Batman and Superman, executive producer on Justice League.
Yeah, he's heavily involved in the DC side.
Yeah. I didn't really realize
Well,
that.
he was even connected with the Joker, the Todd Phillips one.
Yeah.
The reason why he doesn't have the split thing, because if you read the original script, Arthur Fleck picks up a shard of glass from the broken car and cuts his face open like that. And Christopher Nolan interjected and said, I don't want that connected to my Batman, which is
That's
the
a great shout.
Well, and
Great
that
shout.
and as we know from the Joker now, the film The Joker, he is not the Joker. He's the guy that inspires the Joker later on.
Yep.
Um,
Which we know from Bruce Wayne's age in that film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge factor, isn't it?
Yeah, he's never going to be fighting Batman because he's like 20 years older than him or something.
Well, and the rest, yeah.
So I'm not sure when I'm going to release this episode to the public, because we're going to do one in another record. We're going to do a breakdown of Inception and do a spoiler review of that, because it's back in the cinemas at the moment. But to touch on it, you know, it's probably one of the more confusing films he's ever done.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people still debate the ending.
But did you know
going into Inception?
Yeah, not
Did you
massive
know-
detail, because we're going to do a big one on it, but like some.
He said
From
in an
memory.
interview he never would have been able to make Inception if he never made The Dark Knight.
What, budget-wise, or?
Well, maybe.
No, kind of both, because he said,
Confidence-wise?
well, no, it was
As
like
in people with confidence in him?
Yeah, because he said that the Dark Knight kind of like completely blew the lid on any of the other things that
One of the best films of that decade.
Yeah. Right? But also you've got a lot of the actors from, so once he created Inception, he was then able to bring a lot of those characters from the Inception world into the Batman franchise for the third one. So he merged Inception back into the Batman franchise, which I thought was really cool.
Well, it's Tom Hardy's, and the best thing about Inception is watching the interviews with Tom Hardy and Leonardo DiCaprio, trying to answer questions and being like trying to be really helpful, and Tom Hardy just eating nuts, not giving a shit.
Yeah.
Kev, you know the just quick off subject, Tom Hardy's new TV show's coming out called Havoc. You know that's filmed in Overton. That was filmed in Overton, 10 minutes from here.
Overton.
Overton, I don't know, because it's not Underton. It's like 10 minutes from here. The next train drive down. It's he films it there.
My mate Chris Aston's in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're hoping to get him on at some point. Yeah.
I'm just trying to see if it's on in the cinema in Zurich with your request to go see it.
Oh, what you mean?
While she's looking at that, can I request our next spotlight? Seeing as Kev's picked one, Kate's picked one, maybe I can pick
in order.
one.
I'm not picking them randomly. We're doing it in order. So if it's not the next film, then no.
No, I think he means the next deep dive.
Next deep dive.
Oh yeah, of course. We'll talk about that at the end. Though.
My pick is David Fincher.
Ooh. Tell us why.
Well, a few reasons why. Fight Club and Seven, a film we've always talked about in Fight Club, and looking at, he's done Zodiac, which I love.
Ooh.
The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Oh my god, he did so many good films.
Yeah, Social
Alien
Network.
3 bringing it back.
Social Network.
Yeah, I've never seen Social Network, but looks
I think Nolan might be upset that we're talking about.
Let's park that. Yeah. Let's park that conversation.
That'll be the next one.
Well, that's not in this one currently.
Sorry,
so,
Nolan. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll do that.
So down with Nolan, the Batman films, regardless of being Batman, one of the best trilogies of all time. One of the best series of franchises of films of all time. It was filmed so well and it was cast incredibly.
Nolan changed the game in the sense that if you look at a lot of the films during that time, even the one of the most recent James Bonds, Skyfall, is very Nolan-esque in the way that they filmed it, very much like The Dark Knight. So the way that Javier Bardem's characters in the shadows, there's flames, is so the kind of The Dark Knight. And so many trailers wanted to copy Nolan's concept of like creating an exciting kind of spectacle for the trailer, but hopefully not giving away too much. That's another thing we can love about Nolan. He never gives away his movies.
No. And Inception, I thought Inception felt James Bondy when they were doing the skiing down the mountain.
Man, yeah, 100%.
That felt Bondy.
Yeah, but even the beginning when he puts on the silencer and he goes, takes out the people and slides to catch them so their bodies don't make a noise.
Have you got anything else to say on Inception, Kate, before we move on to Interstellar?
No, because we're going to do a deep dive on it. So it's a fucking amazing film and I love it. But don't want to touch on it. Sorry, I'm also trying to Google how to see it in Zurich. Because if it's in England, surely it'd be in Zurich, but it doesn't seem to be.
Well, it's
on Wednesday, and I was like, I'd just love to take myself to cinema and just get really good sound.
Anti-Zurich of them.
Okay, by the way, I'm coming over to Switzerland at the end of the year.
Really? How come?
Turns out a guy I work with has a place in the Alps, so I'm flying into Geneva in December.
Can I see you? When are you going to be there? December?
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about it off camera, but yeah, we're coming in because flights are really cheap.
They are. You should all come to Zurich.
And he charges, by the way, Kev and Drew, 20 quid a head per night at his apartment in the Swiss Alps.
Can I just say that is unheard of? You're likely to pay like 200 quid a night, so that is amazing. You should go for it. Like that.
Rage well in Switzerland. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So okay, let's talk. I'm very excited.
So Interstellar.
Interruption. Interstellar.
Well, we kind of made a chat about Interstellar earlier on, but is anyone got? I mean, I know Drew will have points on this. What's your kind of main takeaway on Interstellar, or your favourite parts?
I just thought it was amazing that they got Matthew McConaughey into.
He was so good in that.
McConaughey.
Into a Nolan movie.
Well, to be fair, you're right, because like Matthew McConaughey was not doing many serious roles again at that point.
Well, he was doing True Detective, and then he into
True Detective before this.
I think so.
Yeah. Did you read his biography? It's actually quite good, his biography, and he said like he'd written these like 5 goals. Of,
is that Green Lights?
He wanted to get out of like all these like romantic comedies, and he'd given himself this list, and then it like all became real.
Yeah, manifesting lists.
Yeah.
True Detective was the same year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So he was doing, but then guys,
the year after Wolf of Wall Street and Dallas Buyers Club.
Guys, it's got Timothée Chalamet in it.
Oh yeah, that's his first role.
Do you think that like Matthew McConaughey is part of just what makes Inception? He's so good in it.
And he's Chalamet's dad.
He's good in everything.
He's an amazing actor.
You mean Interstellar?
Yeah, Interstellar. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting confused all the names. Interstellar.
Here's a crazy thing though, just to jump back real quick to Inception, and no disrespect to DiCaprio. This is a crazy thing to say. I wonder if Heath Ledger hadn't sadly passed. I wonder if he would have played Cobb.
Maybe.
So I thought that would have been a really.
He would have. Well, he takes his actors with him. He brings back.
Yeah, he reuses
Tom Hardy a lot.
Tarantino thing, isn't it?
He reuses his same cast. Yeah, because Cillian Murphy's been in almost 7 of his films, I think. I might be just getting that a bit wrong.
He's had scenes with Tom Hardy in 3 of them, because he's got a scene with him in Dunkirk as well.
Dunkirk,
and
Peaky Blinders. Both in Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
And Anne Hathaway is in Interstellar. She's Catwoman, isn't she, in Batman?
Yeah. Dark Knight Rises. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
And Michael Caine's in Interstellar.
Yeah, he's in loads of his. He was saying Michael Caine was his lucky charm.
This analysis is really beautiful. It says, the epic that blends hard science with deep emotional storytelling. The film explores love, time, human survival, and the nature of the universe. It intertwines astrophysics with personal sacrifice.
Here's a question for everyone. How many times did you cry during Interstellar?
4. Oh, you beat me.
I feel like
0.
What? Are you dead inside?
Kev's cold. He only cries at Van Damme movies.
Yeah.
You're cold, man.
If someone throws a spin kick wrong, Kev's in bits.
I was in bits after watching
I was
His
Interstellar.
technique's awful. I'm in tears.
so hard in so many ways, that film.
You know the bit near the end though, when he's there with his daughter, who now looks like his grandmother,
Yeah.
and she said, "I knew you'd come back because my daddy made a promise to me," and I was like,
Oh, and then the bit when she says, "Oh, I wanted to see you, but I've got my family around me now, my children, so I don't
"Yeah,
need you."
yeah." No, she says, "Go off." She says, "You've done
Yeah.
enough. Like you can go fly, go be with,
Oh,
go." No, I think she says, "Go and find her," because he
yeah.
knows that they have that kind of love relationship that he's like. That's the other thing in Nolan films. The love is very subtle. He's never done any kind of like graphic nude scenes apart from in Oppenheimer, where people are like, "Oh, Nolan."
But
It's
what?
true, like the love is more of a feeling
Yeah,
rather than like explicit in your face.
But
It's
what's
like
your thoughts of the criticism? The criticism is that Nolan can't write women, and there's no interesting women in his films because
I probably
uh,
agree with that actually.
there's
Anne
no female
Hathaway's interesting though, in
protagonists.
Batman. To be fair, she's a good
yeah,
character.
she's fascinating as Catwoman.
She is a good character. She's really good. I wish she was in more. She was a really good character.
Hot, smash, very sexy.
There's some strong women in Oppenheimer though.
Not many female characters in Oppenheimer.
I mean, you can't debate it's a male-led cast, but
I was talking to Kev about this, and we were talking about
I say most films are.
Well, we were talking about the criticism of like Barbie and Oppenheimer. See, I was talking to Kev and we were talking about how this criticism of Oppenheimer being sexist in the Barbie time. We were like, but it's a film portraying like a time that was sexist. And I think that like me and Kev were chatting about how if you just ignored these things then you're kind of forgetting truths. Like, yeah, it might be a sexist film because it's historical and it's showing a time that was sexist. So
Also, I think that if you're just looking at a film being like, oh, well, there's not many women in this, not many women in that, not many men in this, you're not really enjoying the film for what it's about. You're not enjoying the film at all, actually. You're looking for nuances and you're looking for errors. There will always be films where they'll be like, oh, it could have more diversity.
Well, do you remember Paul Bullion said in one of our episodes that he says that films represent the time of society at the time, and that's why, like you're saying, yeah, it's bang on because there was very kind of misogynistic back in those days, and it's called His Story is in history is his story. Like it's so all about men in history. Like there's not women. There's hardly any women in the history books because they were kind of all shut down. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I know there is, but I'm saying
general comment. We're not going into detail on this.
what I'm thinking that it's saying, Drew, is it was
in history.
A patriarchal history. So
look how many male statues there are around the world. You don't see many female statues. Like but men were concerned by women, so they wanted to try and shut them down in that time. So that's
I think
why.
we might be going down a rabbit hole we don't need to.
Yeah, we might want to escape out of this
like,
one right now. I'm with
like
Kev.
we're saying, most of the men wrote the history books, so it's about their viewpoint. There's loads of women's stories, we just haven't heard them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think Drew's saying
her story.
Yeah,
her
I
story
wanted
instead
to
of
say
history.
that this could be misinterpreted. I don't think. I mean, I'm speaking for Drew, but just female perspective. I don't think he's saying that like women don't have a voice and women don't have a story. I think that Drew's saying that like
Drew, he does make a good point.
His history is like they're portraying a time. So if you ignore history that might have been sexist or racist, if you don't portray that as how it was, then you're not acknowledging that it happened. And you're not.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. I do agree with you, Drew. You do make a good point. As much as I was joking, you do make a good point.
Anyway, I go to the bathroom. Bye.
And she's fallen off the chair.
Well, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, so we just need to rattle through the last couple. So, Dunkirk. Bizarrely, I saw that in the cinema in Southampton. We're on holiday.
Was that the one that was done in like one take?
You ever seen them?
No, that was 1917.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're on a holiday in the New Forest, and we went to the cinema on a rainy day to see Dunkirk, which was.
But again, the twist
good.
of Dunkirk I thought was so clever because you think it's 3 separate stories happening at different times, but it's a day, minutes, and hours or something, and how they all come together is really clever.
I thought it was an impressive film. Oh, Barry Keoghan
Yeah,
in
Barry
that as
Keoghan.
well.
Mark Rylance as well, who's an amazing actor.
And your mate Fionn Whitehead that you knocked on his door.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
And obviously Tom Hardy. So yeah, obviously Dunkirk's fantastic, and then Tenet, which I don't think had a good chance.
Still not seen that.
Well, it opened during the lockdown.
Yeah, I think it was a bit unfair in the sense that two things that went against Tenet: the fact that it was lockdown, but it was a very complicated film, and for people that weren't on board with Nolan stuff, it was very, very complicated. Like, still to this day, I've seen it probably like 10 times maybe, but I still can't get my head around a lot of it. Like,
Why the hell have you watched that 10 times?
Because I love his stuff, man. I love Nolan. I've seen Inception like probably 27 times, maybe 30. Interstellar.
That's insane.
15 times. I don't know. It's like,
I thought Tenet was good, but like you said, it was a weird one because he chose to release that during the pandemic, and then Tom Cruise decided not to release Top Gun till he was ready. So like Nolan made a bad shout, basically.
yeah, but then ironically, Tom Cruise put on his face mask and went to see Tenet, and he was like, "Oh my god!" It was an amazing movie. That's the other thing I like about him. He loves movies and supports movies. But yeah, Tenet was a brave film to make. But John David Washington said as well. He said that he really helped. You know, he said putting a black man as a lead, as the protagonist, was really cool. He said that opened up a lot of doors and stuff. So yeah.
Right, sit still. You're just making noises, guys. God damn.
You kids are grounded. You kids are grounded.
Oh, sorry, we'll behave.
Two more final things. Yeah, Oppenheimer. We've discussed that. That was epic. Anyone got anything important to say about Oppenheimer?
Are you going to say the Odyssey? Are you talking about the Odyssey next? Or?
Yeah. Oh,
wait. The other thing. Hang on. He's a master at building the craziest and biggest casts. Because if you think of all the people that exist in Oppenheimer,
that's one of the biggest, isn't it?
Yeah, and then every time, and now the Odyssey, because every time he releases another headshot of an actor, you just keep seeing it, and it's like, and this is it. Nolan always releases his films in July 17th.
Oh, really?
That's like his luckiest time. Yeah, if you look, all his films, July 17th. And it's like, he puts himself, he throws himself under the bus in the sense that he's like, this film is coming out 2026, 17th of July. And it's like, well, let's hope it all goes, smoothly.
I've got that date in front of me. Yeah. But before we go into that, like Oppenheimer was great for bringing people like Robert Downey Jr. back to a serious role, getting away from Marvel, which I thought 100%. Was good.
And I think he did a really good job of that. Like he said, like to get his kind of acting chops back. And again, like it's all dialogue, isn't it? Like a lot of Nolan stuff is so well written because he normally writes his own screenplays, or his brother helps him. Because that was it. Jumping back to The Dark Knight real quick. Nolan was saying he was slightly frustrated that his brother, Jonathan Nolan, wrote the best line in the film, so he decided to use it twice, which is you either live long enough to see, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You know, where it's like you're a hero, but if you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. He liked that line so much that his brother wrote that he added it again at the very end. So Batman echoes that same line that Harvey Dent says. And it's like, yeah, incredible.
Nice. Well, we'll end on this one then. So the new film he's filming right now in Greece. Wrong country, Kate, but Kate has gone to France.
She's got a pet of bread on her head.
I'm just being a film critic,
But so the new film Odyssey he's filming right now. It's part of Universal Studios, and it is based on the ancient Greek epic poem by Homer.
Oh.
So it's about the Trojan War. So the Trojan horse will be in it.
Yeah.
You'll have a Cyclops, you'll have sirens and goddesses. So it's going to be
cool.
That's going to be super epic.
When's it out? July 17th.
July 17th, 2026. Genuinely. And it is a £250 million budget, which is his biggest budget of the career. And as we know, he doesn't CGI everything except touch-ups and VFX and stuff, but he is building the Trojan, he's building the Cyclops. And
well, they showed a clip of Tom Holland on a real boat, and then they showed another clip next to it of like Game of Thrones where it's done in a studio and they're just moving. And he says Nolan doesn't mess around with green screen. It's like you're getting in real boats. So,
well, do you want a quick? There's too many people to name them all, but shall I just give you a quick?
Yeah, the list is insane of the cast. Yeah.
So, Samantha Morton, John Luisiano, Lupita Nyong'o, Elliot Page, Mia Goth, Charlize Theron, Matt Damon, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, John Bernthal,
huge cast,
and Robert Pattinson.
A lot of really famous people.
Huge cast.
There's more, I think.
The first four people you said never heard of, but the
well,
rest of them, big time.
It's got the guy, the Thingy brothers that did Good Times.
Good time.
Elliot Page, big fan.
Himesh Patel is in it as well.
Oh, nice. From Tenet.
I love Tom Holland. The more he's in, the better.
So yeah, it looks pretty epic. Anyone else got any final thoughts?
Nope.
We went off the rails a few times, but
that's quite normal for us, and I quite like it. So
I don't think I even mentioned that he started out as a script reader and a camera operator for corporate films, for like, I don't know, health and safety video for Asda type thing.
Can you imagine that was done as time narrative? Like,
yeah, absolutely mad.
I need to watch something now. Any recommendations?
Yeah, Renfield, the one I've told you to watch for the last few months.
That's one I don't want to watch. Something else.
Renfield is in. I read the Bram Stoker's
on Netflix now. It's funny.
When we quit recording, I got a request to make.
Okay.
Have you?
My request is you all come to Switzerland on holiday.
Well, I'm coming. We're coming.
Kev said he wants to travel, so like he's put it out in the universe.
Kev, we've got a place in Geneva we can get with the Swiss Alps. We can go for 20 quid a head a night.
We've got spare rooms.
No bloody chat.
Let's all go to Switzerland.
True. You're already there.
I know. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a dream. It's a dream.
Like a little cartoon character.
Oh yeah.
You should come visit me. True. You haven't said anything. You have to come.
What?
We're all, including me, that lives there.
Drew gives a poem on Christopher Nolan.
Can I go to Switzerland?
No, dude. You'll get it on the next one.
I know. No, I didn't mean that one. Just a fresh one off the top of your head. Run the word of Nolan and give us a haiku.
Put me under pressure. Bus.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.
Oh, wait! Before you go and enjoy the rest of your day, we would really appreciate if you had a spare 5 seconds, a follow and a 5-star rating. Also, don't forget to follow us on our socials on Instagram and TikTok, where we have updates, movie-related content, and funny clips from the show. Please tell all your friends. Thanks for hanging out with us till the very end. Have a great rest of your day.